Alright, wait. Okay, 1 second, guys. Alright, cool. Alright, so, as you know, I'm Matt Dillon. I sit in the front row, always causing trouble. So, what I'm going to be doing today is teaching you about the infectious disease, the dab. No, I'm kidding. I'm actually going to teach you about a disease. It's called ALD, or adrenoleukodystrophy, long name. Basically, what I hope you learn about this disease is, or about neurological diseases in general, is just how nasty the disease is, and what I hope you learn about what this disease affects in the body, what it does, and just how bad it is. It's a very bad disease. So I'm going to go more in depth about this disease. So, ALD, general background. So what it is, it affects children 65 to 75% of the time, between the ages of 5 and 18, and then adults between over the ages of 50 the rest of the time, but it's not as severe. So we're going to mainly focus on the child born ALD. So what it does is your body produces fatty acids 24 and 26, and it's an X chromosome disease, so the females are the carriers since they get 2 copies of the gene. If one copy is bad, then the other copy is okay, then it can kind of override the copy and your symptoms will be very mild, if at all any. That's why men, since they only have 1 copy of the X chromosome, it affects them 95% of the time, the full-blown disease, and female 5% of the time. Again, your body produces fatty acids, or VLFCAs, very long-chain fatty acids, 24 and 26. And when you have ALD, you can't stop producing those fatty acid chains. And so what happens is the fatty acid chains spread throughout the body, and it attacks a myelin or a protein. It's like a protective coat of the neuron, so it doesn't get damaged. But once the fatty acid chains destroy that myelin, it's like the protein coat, the neuron basically dies. And it's a shockwave throughout the body, and you're basically screwed neurologically because you slowly deteriorate. Your brain starts to stop functioning, you become brain dead, you lose your hearing, vision, all your senses. You're pretty much dying, but you're like in vegetable state. So you're pretty much dead, but you're not. And then eventually, in the very last stage of the disease, you're so brain dead that you die because your body just shuts down. It's a very bad disease, and you don't want your children to get it. And just to remember, the females are the carriers most of the time, and the men are never the carriers. They're usually the ones who get it. So, history of ALD. It was discovered by doctors named Haberfield and Spieler, and they were presented by x-rays of a child's brain deteriorating over time. But they didn't have a name until 1970. Dr. Bois found a link between leukodystrophy and primary adrenocortical insufficiency, and then the name ALD came about. So, you may be wondering, what does it affect? It affects the nervous system and the neurons, and the fatty acid chains destroy the myelin and slowly turn that person into a vegetable. The appearance of the disease doesn't have an appearance, but it's a genetic disorder. So the X chromosome of the female she's the carrier. It's an X chromosome disease, so she's usually the carrier, and she has 2 copies. And then it spreads 1/4 of the time to the male, or it could spread to the female. And if it spreads to the female, she's usually the carrier, and the male will get ALD. Let's see. So some causes. It's kind of like ALS. There's no real causes to ALD, but they believe it's genetic, and they believe the mother passes to the male, while the female is the carrier. And then the bad part, that's where it gets kind of bad. Some symptoms, man, there's a lot. Muscle spasms, seizures, trouble swallowing, kind of doing bad in school, loss of hearing, then it deteriorates to paralysis, coma, can't talk anymore, loss of sense, touch, you lose your senses, and then you slowly start to go kind of crazy, and deterioration of the mind, your motor control goes away, you go into a coma, and then at the very end of the stage, where you're basically brain dead, you have to have the nurse always around you, just sucking out saliva so you don't choke to death. And then you finally die, because your body just shuts down or you choke to death, because there's so much, you have no neurons left, basically. And sadly, there's not many treatments, but there's some methods. The best one is called Lorenzo's oil, which is VLFCA 18, which helps neutralize, it slows down the process of the 24 and 26 of reducing, but it's still happening. It's just a lot slower. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it because then your child's just suffering longer, I think. And neurological, if you don't know this, you can't reverse neurological damage. And then, so that's Lawrence oil. And then you can use muscle therapy to help reduce spasms. And then the worst part, there's no way to prevent this disease because it's genetic, so you can't prevent it. Links. So, well, I hope you learn some facts. What I've learned is that it's a neurological disease. It's a very nasty disease and how it just affects the brain and deteriorates it. It's not a virus or a bacteria. It's genetic. This is what I've learned, and I hope you learn. You can die from it because some neurological diseases you don't die from, but this one you do. It's very uncommon. 1 in 18,000 people get it. It attacks the myelin, so basically the process of how this fatty acid attacks the neuron. It's unknown cause, it's genetic, it's an X chromosome disease, it has no cure and very little treatment. So I hope you learned a lot about my disease, ALD, and it was probably very boring to watch this video, I'm sorry, but again, I hope you learned. And one more dab, guiding, I'm out.